Right edition, welcome, happy day. I have on the telephone from Winnipeg, Canada, Henry Makow. Henry, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Brian.
Good. Now tell me about yourself. Tell the people who are watching us, introduce yourself.
Okay, I've been writing a blog. I have a website called henrymakow.com. It's roughly 15 years old, in which I've basically explored what the world conspiracy is and shared it with my readers. I get 20,000 visits a day. I've written 5 books based on articles I've posted on my website, and my books have been translated into German, French, Spanish, Indonesian, Japanese. They're read all over the world. And I basically make sense of the world, or I like to think I do.
Well, let me tell you, the world needs to be made sense of. We all kind of get that. Tell me, what is the Malays Alien Society? What is that?
Okay, well, this sounds incredible and bizarre, but the Western world and possibly the whole world is run by a satanic cult. I know that sounds unbelievable, but when you think of what a mess we've made of the world in terms of world wars, etc., it actually explains it.
Okay.
Now, this satanic cult is based on Kabbalism, which is really Satanism, which essentially denies the existence of God and tries to turn the moral order on its head.
How's capitalism involved in that?
I'm talking about capitalism, Cabalism.
Oh, okay. I got it.
Not capitalism.
You worried me there for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back on track now.
Essentially, Jewish mysticism is the basis of all occultism. It's Satanism. It's very ancient. It harkens back to the mystery religions of Babylon and Egypt. It's paganism and it's Satanism. And the essence of it is that they're going to essentially supplant the divine plan for humanity, the Creator's design, with their own agenda, which essentially puts them at the top and enslaves mankind. That's the direction we're going in. That's their agenda.
Who are the how do you pronounce that word? Illuminati?
Are the Illuminati, okay.
Illuminati. Who are they?
Illuminati are essentially a secret society within Freemasonry. Freemasonry is the Church of Satan. They won't tell you that, but that's what the Freemasonry really is. Freemasonry is based on Kabbalism. So Freemasonry is the one of the main instruments of the Illuminati, who are the directors of this secret society. Now, the reason they're so powerful is that the world's central bankers all belong to the Illuminati. They are Kabbalists.
What's their agenda? What are they about? What do they hope to accomplish?
Way back 500 years ago, roughly, starting in England, they convinced the king to let them produce the money or currency, the medium of exchange, as in the form of a debt to them. And that's the source of humanity's malaise, because the state, the king, could produce currency without paying any debt and paying any interest. Because the currency, money has no intrinsic value. Currency is just a coupon. It's a medium of exchange.
It is?
Yeah, that's all it is, a medium of exchange. It has no intrinsic value. Its only value is what someone will give you for it, right?
Well, that's right, but
Right.
certainly it's the driver of society as we know it.
Yeah, right. And societies flourish when there's plenty of when there's enough of this medium of exchange, and economies have depressions when there aren't enough, when there isn't enough of it.
Oh, exactly.
This medium of exchange. Anyway, this medium of exchange has taken the form of a debt to this small cabal of private families, most of whom happen to be Jewish, who...
Where are these families located? You're talking in Europe, I'm assuming? Jewish...
London is their headquarters, and we're talking about the Rothschilds and the Warburgs and the Schiffs and so on.
Okay.
And the Rockefellers. Essentially, they established the banking system.
Okay.
So these people have enormous power because all the currency, which is a medium of exchange, is really a debt to them, although they created it out of nothing, and it really, you hear what I'm saying? And we have to pay interest on this debt, when in fact the state could create this currency without it being a debt and without having to pay interest. You follow me?
Well, I kind of do. Is that something that you would encourage, that the state create their own currency?
Definitely, but that's never going to happen.
That doesn't sound very capitalistic somehow. What have I missed?
Well, that wouldn't interfere with capitalism at all. In fact, that would be very beneficial for capitalism.
How is that?
Well, because the state would ensure that it would also be beneficial for democracy, because the state would basically be taking the power away from these essentially foreign families.
Yeah.
All our politicians are essentially just proxies. They're just gophers for these families.
No, I hear you, Henry. I mean, whenever I hear the word state, and whenever the state is to get involved in anything, I kind of break out in hives because I don't like the state so much. But
actually,
I'm following you on this now.
It's actually these families, these central bankers, who are promoting the state because they're using the state to control everybody.
Yeah.
Follow me?
I do. Now,
the state, because the politicians work for them.
Yeah,
Work for us.
somewhere in all of your reading, or the things that I've read here with these topics, you've got homosexuality mixed into this. How does that come into banking and everything? Explain that one to me.
I'll tell you, they're basically trying to translate their monopoly over currency,
Yeah.
their monopoly over credit, which is what money is. They create credit, money. They want to translate that monopoly into a monopoly over everything: power, thought.
Oh yeah, well that's the liberal. You're now getting into heavy liberal talk here. I mean, they want to control what we say, who we say it to, and what we do and when we do it.
Exactly, and they want to. That's right. Liberals are basically a proxy for them as well.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to translate that monopoly because they're afraid. They're afraid states will do what you just asked me. They're afraid the people will renounce the debt.
Okay.
Will, and produce their own currency. They're afraid of that. So they have to essentially create a tyrannical world government to prevent. And terrorism is just an excuse to do this. They're behind terrorism.
They're behind terrorism.
You bet.
Oh my! I mean, we just jumped from homosexuality over to terrorism. How did that happen? Okay.
Because they need an excuse to create a police state, Brian.
Oh, okay. Once you get a police state.
And for homosexuality, they need to create this tyranny, but they want to create a kind of tyranny that people will consent to. So they need to re-engineer us, get us away from our former values, which is freedom and independence, and make us a conformists and easily manipulated.
So how is this driven? Like, who's doing this? Is there a room somewhere, a conference room, where you have the bankers, the Rothschilds, and other people, politicians, maybe?
They have many instruments. Yeah. They have hundreds of agencies that carry out this agenda, but their main one of their main ones is the Council on Foreign Relations and the and Chatham House in London but virtually everyone is, wittingly or unwittingly pushing this agenda.
And what about war?
Homosexuality is part of re-engineering the human race, because as long as people have families, they can't control what children think. They want to bring children up. They want to basically produce children artificially and then bring them up and brainwash them.
Well, certainly there's a lot of the brainwashing thing going on, and if you're aware of this or not, Henry, but in Scotland right now there's a proposal in front of their legislators, to say that every time a child is born, the state appoints a person to come and look after that child in conjunction with the parents, and the parents have no say about it. And again, that is in keeping with what you're suggesting, that is brainwashing. I know it's going on, but you're talking about a bigger scope than I guess most of us have ever heard or thought about. And what about war? When you're talking about terrorists and all of this, do they have to start little wars like in the Ukraine, for instance? What's going on there, and is that tied to the many theories that you're sharing with us here today?
Absolutely.
In what way? Like, what's Putin got to do with terrorism?
I'm quite content for Ukraine to be neutral.
Yeah.
But essentially, in the United States, which is nothing but a sock puppet of the central bankers, who are trying to create a world government, overthrew the government in Ukraine and put in a very partisan anti-Russian government, and threw out the president that the Russians were working with. And as a result, Russia had to grab the Crimea because that was their only access to the Black Sea. And then the people of Russian origin in the East wanted to secede because they couldn't identify with this new government in Ukraine. Yeah. So essentially, this is an aggressive policy where they want to get rid of Putin. We're talking about world government tyranny, Brian, yeah. and basically the West is nothing but a sock puppet for the central bankers who are trying to control the whole world.
What's going on in the Middle East? Is that tied into all of this somehow? You got all those wackos over there cutting people's heads off and doing all these crazy things. What's the connection with that, or is there
religion? In order to re-engineer humanity. In order to re-engineer humanity, they've got to destroy the four things that define humanity. And
I'm curious to hear what the four things are. What are they?
Pardon me?
What are the four things to define humanity? That's interesting. I'm curious.
Essentially, human identity is based on religion, race, nationhood, and family. That's how we establish our identity.
Okay.
So they're busy trying to.
I don't know if those ISIS guys are smart enough to be re-engineering anything. They're just busy to go killing people. They're just a bunch of murderers and thugs.
ISIS guys have been established by Western intelligence, which is basically a soft puppet of the
really?
central bankers.
You really think that? You think that there's a bigger picture than just a bunch of thugs out there doing thuggery things? You think there's some big plan that ties in with the world?
You bet.
Okay.
Nothing happens by accident.
Yeah. What about the mass media? I mean, the mainstream media, what's their role in all of this? I mean, they obviously have a role because they're part of that brainwashing thing. I mean, they tell us what we think in a lot of ways and how we should think it and who done thunk it. What's your thoughts what's your thoughts about that?
Right, Brian, you're absolutely right. That's a great question. The mass media is, again, these bankers control most corporations because they're bankers,
Yeah.
And you only need about 5% of the stock anyway to control a company.
Yeah.
And so they control the media corporations, and the media is nothing but mind control, the mass media. The only freedom is on the internet and websites like my own.
Well, that's going to change too.
Essentially, the mass media is mind control.
Yeah.
For example, when that airliner crashed in in the Ukraine when that airliner was shot down over the Ukraine.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, when they thought they could pin it on Russia, they were outraged, right?
Right.
Right. But now it turns out that the Ukrainians shot it down. Do you hear about it in the media? Do you hear a peep?
No, not at all. Now, let's just quickly go back to the internet just for your information in today's news this morning, just an hour ago. Obama now was saying how it's important that he take over the internet, and he's working towards that. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out, of course, because right now you're right, that is the freedom of the press is online, and that may be tampered with. But what about gun control? And gun control, I don't mean just for America and Canada, because the politicians are always trying to take our guns away. Of course, I get it. But tie that to the global scene, because that's what we're talking about. Tie it to the Ukraine and all the other countries. What's going on with gun control? Is it potentially global, or is it, what is it? Gun control. Is it mind control? People control? I mean, is it regional or is it worldwide? Is there a master plan here to disarm the the citizenry in every country? Does that go back to your bankers? Are they all sitting in a room somewhere saying, we sell guns, we're part of that, we make money, but we kind of want to take the guns away from everybody anyway, and now Obama is saying, let's take the bullets away since we can't get the guns away. I mean, again, is that part of this global revolution?
The fact that Americans own guns is the only thing standing in the way of tyranny there.
That's true.
And,
I know
and
that.
Therefore, they actually instigate terrorism like Sandy Hook. It was a drill that the media is putting over as if it were a real event.
Well, you're suggesting
they instigated 9/11. They're all behind.
Whoa, Henry. Whoa.
Marathon.
You're saying the Sandy Hook didn't happen?
The what?
Sandy Hook didn't happen?
It happened, but it was a drill, and I question whether any children actually died. In any case, I mean, it just reeks. The whole story just reeks. It's so that fishy. I mean, it's all online. You can Google Makow, Sandy Hook, and see my articles on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, all this terrorism is an excuse to get rid of our false flags. Are excuse to take away the guns. Once Americans give up their guns, it's all over.
Yeah.
So I'm a big supporter of you and of all gun owners.
Sure.
Never relinquish your guns. I mean, without a fight.
Yeah.
And because that's what it.
Well,
That's the main thing standing between you and tyranny.
I agree 100%, and that brings into play the NRA and the US of A and the CSSA in Canada. I mean, they fight for us because we're too busy out there trying to, shoot something so we can bring it home and our family can eat it, right? I mean, we got other things to do, and we can't fight the fight every day, and you need those organizations to do that. And without them, I fear that our guns would have been taken away long ago. And anyway, I'm digressing a little bit. Let's get back to Jews. The Jews in general, do you think that they're part of this big conspiracy, or what's your thoughts on organized Jewry? Are you there, Henry?
That's a good question.
I stumped you there for a minute, did I?
The Freemasons are an instrument. The Freemasons of the central bank as well. Organized Jewry is another instrument.
Yeah.
Essentially, I'm talking about organized Jews. I'm a Jew myself.
Yeah.
Ordinary Jews aren't in on this program. They don't know anything about it, just like most people don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But organized Jewry basically manipulates organized Jews and basically mind controls them in order so they advance the liberal gun control, homosexual agenda. Because essentially Judaism is based on Kabbalism, and Kabbalism is Satanism.
Yeah.
So Judaism is not a religion; it's a satanic cult. Jews don't know this. But essentially, they've used it to spread out through using Freemasonry, which includes millions of non-Jews, to take over the world.
So Henry, as a Jew, this goes way back in history, of course, but talk about Hitler briefly. I mean, that's probably a sore point, but tell me about him. False opposition, false person, was he there? Did he really exist? Give me a short summary on Hitler.
Hitler could never have come to power without the central bankers' support and financing.
Okay.
And his job was essentially to lure the German people into a trap.
He did that well.
And to accomplish exactly what was accomplished, the destruction of Germany and the destruction of some of the things that Hitler valued, like race and nationhood.
Yeah.
But Hitler was basically false opposition. And if you Google Hitler and Bormann were traitors, and then Makow, M-A-K-O-W, you'll come see an article which proves that Bormann and Hitler, the people at the very top of the Nazi Party, were traitors. That all of Hitler's plans were being leaked to the Russians by Bormann.
Yeah.
And when Canaris and Galen discovered this, Hitler defended Bormann.
Yeah, that's interesting stuff. You know, Henry, I could talk to you a lot, and but I think that's it for today because the phone's kind of breaking up a little bit. But you know what? I appreciate your views, and we've kind of gone in the circle there, and there's a lot of interesting stuff in that circle. I'm talking about the Freemasons
I
and
feel like
right around to Hitler.
I was able to convey the essence of my worldview, and I really appreciate that.
Well, hey, it was a pleasure, and I hope we can chat again.
I hope so too.
Thanks a lot.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Henry. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.